Blog Talk Radio.
Here we go with the main event of the evening. Ladies and gentlemen in attendance, Boston fans joining us around the world. It's time for the bout you've all been waiting for. Finally, it is showtime.
Here, man, we dedicate our life to this sport. We do thousands of sit-ups in camp. We run hundreds of miles, for the ones that take it serious. And we just dedicate ourselves fully to our craft, man. We watch tape. We have attitude. We rooting, and we go into that fight and to land on the line.
Minnesota Vikings fans, the Purple People Eater podcast returns. I'm your host, Chris Carlson. My co-host, Aaron, will join us shortly. Well, it feels good right now to be a Minnesota Vikings fan, doesn't it? I mean, don't get me wrong. Things could be better. We still had Dan Bailey on our team in the topsy-turvy day he had kicking the damn ball, but 2-2-1 has never sounded better, to be honest with you. Because 1-3-1, yeah, that's a wild card maybe at best, more than likely. We knew that, losing that Bills game at home. And now, of course, they go right back to just being a shitty team that they are, too. Isn't that just what would happen to the Minnesota Vikings? But anyway, the fact that Bills game, we knew we needed to pull an upset, whether that was going to be, last Sunday, whether that was going to be at New England. We just knew we had to pull an upset. And no matter what the Vegas odds tell you, that's still an upset. That's still on the road. That's a tough game. So thank the football gods for a week anyway, because like I said, we still got some things to talk about. But of course, here on the Purple People Eaters podcast. Why did I ever name it that? No, actually, a lot of people like the name. We're going to start with a recap, of course, of the Philadelphia Eagles game. We are back on track. Let's hope we keep it going. And then, of course, we're going to preview the game that is a must-win again against the Arizona Cardinals, who I'd have to check. I think Bradford's hurt. No way. Bradford's hurt? No way. But I think he's hurt. I think. So I have to check who the hell's playing for them at quarterback. It really doesn't matter. Of course, Josh Allen hurdled one of our best defenders, so who knows. But anyway, so we're gonna start with recap. A variety of topics, of course, offensively. Well, we're going to start with Dan Bailey, of course. But offensively, Cousins and Thielen through 5 games is just silly. We'll go over some of the stats. And we'll talk about, give our thoughts on the O-line. Seemed like they gave us just enough rushing yards. The young rookie tackle is looking pretty good, too. Speaking of young players making an impact, Weatherly on defense is definitely making an impact. And overall, whether we get Griff back or not, it's a positive thing, obviously. I want Griff back clearly whenever he's ready to come back, whether that's 2 weeks or a month or whenever. But to have Weatherly and company, that's pretty good for depth just in general. Even if and when he does come back, we can give him a little bit more, we can give him a little more time on the sidelines to catch his breath, and that way, all the way down the season, as November, December, and January come, people wear down. Defenses wear down. And it'd be nice just to have a little bit more depth there. The secondary bounce back as well. The young players, Hughes and Alexander, even Barr was making plays, if you can believe it. No, I'm just kidding. I think people are a little too hard on Barr from that Rams game. Actually, my co-host mentioned that too. He mentioned one of those plays. It was a tough cover for anybody. And then we're going to talk, of course, a segment here for the Minnesota Gophers, reviewing the homecoming Iowa loss. I thought they played pretty good. Defensively, I don't know what to tell you. It's kind of funny because a couple of years ago under Jerry Kill, we were built defensively. We could pretty much hang with people defensively. Offensively, not so much. Now it looks like we could put up, points on the board, but we can't stop anybody. So we're going to talk a little bit about that loss and preview the Gophers versus Ohio State, which is a slaughter just waiting to happen. Although, Ohio State could be looking ahead to other tougher games than the Gophers. So you never know. So we're going to kind of, all-purpose our way through this. I'm going to go ahead and bring in my co-host, Aaron, now. What's going on, Aaron? How you doing, buddy?
Hey, Chris, I'm well. It's good to talk after a win. It's been a change for the last couple weeks. But it seems like things are coming together. It's a work in progress.
Yeah, that's about it. It is a work in progress. We're not out of it just yet. You can't just, we're fine now. We're good. Now it's just all downhill, right? No. There's still some uphill battles coming up. And obviously Arizona, it is what it is. But we haven't even touched our division. If you look at the schedule, there's a run there of all division opponents. Detroit, Chicago, Green Bay. And then we end with Detroit and Chicago, which I kind of like because it's right there for the taking. Like, all right, whoever wins these games is going to win the division and potentially have a home field first round. I guess you can't, you don't want to rule out anything. You never really know what's going to happen here. We do have a tough game coming up down the line, too. And you know what? I forgot that Jets game was before the New Orleans game. Okay. That makes me feel a little bit better. But anyway, yeah, we're not out of the woods. I mean, we're still 2-2-1. It just, like I said, I've never felt better being 2-2-1, as weird as that sounds. Never felt better. And it was a must-win. Even though week 5, we were in week 5, and it was a must-win. We needed it. As far as just the game goes, we got off to a good start. Besides, Bailey, he had to go and miss a kick that is pretty close. What was that first kick? 20-something? What the hell was it? I'm going to check. 28 yards. 28 yards, he missed it. Nice opening drive, though. 12 plays. You're like, okay, yeah, we're moving the ball. And then we forced the 3 and out. Had another drive. Forced another 3 and out. And then we missed another field goal. They got a field goal. And then the big guy, Lindell Joseph. Dude, I saw this T-shirt online with Lindell just sitting there running with the ball on a T-shirt. And I might have – it's a $14 T-shirt. I know the quality's going to be garbage. But honestly, it might be worth it. Tell me that wasn't fun watching the big boy. I always love when those big defensive tackles who can't breathe. He didn't even play the next series after it because he was running so hard. Tell me you weren't just happy in general because, hey, I guess this is the way we're going to score a touchdown, as far as the game is going, and that it's a big old boy in the middle running down the field. And I'll tell you what, he got up to, what they say, 18 miles an hour. The dude can run even though he's, a little on the hefty side, let's put it that way.
Yeah, it was fun to see. You rarely see that, but I was going to mention this before you mentioned that he seemed pretty fast for a guy his size. He sure got up and rumbled pretty quick, and there was no indecision on his part as to which way he was going. He grabbed that ball and took off. So, and then he got a pretty nice little convoy there with Barr and Kendricks kind of leading the way for him out there. But, yeah, I think Weatherly threw a pretty nice block on that too. But, yeah, it's going back to what you're saying about the division. I do like it a lot with the division games late in the season. It's because we wouldn't have to be. Let's say you get a bunch of division games, first 4 games of the season, you're not really what you are. And like I said last week, I thought this was a good time to kind of get everything together and see what you have. Now we don't have to play in the division till after the bye, really. We've got 2 games coming up: Arizona, the Jets, then we go play a tough one with the Saints. Then we go on a bye, and then the division's after that. So we'll have time to get ourselves right up during the bye and work in the division. So I think the schedule sets up really, really nicely. But yeah, it was a pretty interesting game to watch. It's kind of like Bailey in the beginning with that kick. It hit another upright.
Yeah.
Keep hitting upright. Ridiculous. This time it didn't go in. You can't really tell. Just stay away from the uprights is what I'm trying to say. But
right.
I think that's what they aim for.
Good thing.
I think they aim for it, and some of them are so damn good that they get it. 30% of the time. So maybe aim a little bit inside of it, or find a way to correct it a little bit. But yeah, didn't he miss 2 now? I thought he missed 2. He missed that first one. It was like in the 20s, and then I think did he rip another one? I'm not sure.
Yeah, he missed 2 out of the 4. Yeah, he missed 2.
Yeah, I was so shocked
that one was
because
a
I have
little longer. What was that? 45 yards.
Yeah.
But still.
Something like that.
But still.
44, I think. Yeah. And I was just so shocked because the game before that, I got Mason Crosby as my fantasy football kicker, and I was just going through kicker nightmares on that one. That was ridiculous. I think he missed his first 4 out of 5. He nailed a good one at the end, but it cost me a lot of points in that, but I digress.
I didn't know that was happening, and I work with a couple of Packer fans, and they were just down in the dumps, and I didn't want to pile on because, let's face it, the game's not even, we're sitting at 1-2-1. I'm not going to pile on shit. You know what I mean? Like, I understand, but I had no clue about the kicker, right? And then all of a sudden the stat popped up, and I'm like, oh my God, like 4, and especially him, like of all kickers, like this dude. I mean, I suppose we got the second most accurate kicker as well, who faded last year. I think that was the reason why he's not there. But yeah, that was a shocker, dude. It was nice to get up 17-3 there too. Have that nice drive, 8-play drive, 56 yards. Right before halftime, and then they're driving. They look like they're about to get some offense going, which is to be to an extent. I do want to ask you about. I saw a lot of complaints about second half prevent defense. We'll get into that in a second. But they had a nice drive going, and then all of a sudden, there was a fumble, and it was really close. I think it was 1st and goal, and I believe that was Weatherly, right? Weatherly caused the fumble. I believe Weatherly caused it off the edge.
I think it was Kendricks.
Did he recover?
Because he tried to go. He tried to go in between the tackles there, and I know Kendricks recovered it. It could have been Weatherly. Right. You could be right, but I think it was one of the linebackers that got it out of there. Actually, you know what? I saw in that replay, it must have been a bad handoff because he never really had possession of the ball. The Philadelphia running back, he kind of had it up by his shoulder, and it just kind of slipped out and hit the ground. So I'm not sure anybody really caused it. I know Kendricks recovered it though.
That's right, because I thought it was Weatherly, but you're right about that. I remember seeing the replay a little later, and you're right. It did kind of just pop out of just awkwardly Adrian Peterson-like, pop right out of the, it was like, what the hell? It's either that or he has 7 dudes dragging on him, and the last guy's just trying to the last couple of guys are just trying to pick away at that. Obviously, the turnover we had was a little bit funky once they started getting into the game. Clearly the running back was trying to run upfield. He didn't have his eyes. You got to see it all the way through. The fundamentals, you still got to have them, even in the NFL, no matter how talented or whatever you rely on, skill or smartness or whatever it is. You still got to follow that thing all the way through. And at that point, I'm like, okay, hold on. And someone at the bar, I just got off, so I saw the end of the last handful of minutes of the third quarter, and then all the fourth quarter. I saw that play for play when the game was live. Anyway, I went back and watched a good chunk of what I had kind of on and off missed while I was working. And that's another thing, too, where I work now instead of a Packer bar. Oh, my God, it's so much nicer because during plays, most of the plays, if you're on the floor, you're going to see it because you're probably not going to go when the Vikings have the ball to your table and take a big order. You know what I mean? A lot of people will just be paying attention to that, wanting to order during the commercial. But when I saw that screen pass that, didn't go forward, it was right when he hit the ground. It's like, oh, no, here we go. And this guy, just to finish this up, kept saying, oh, we got this. I kept knocking on wood. Pretty soon after that play, he was knocking on wood too. Luckily, the defense stood up and held him to a 3-and-out, and we got the ball back. Had another nice long drive, 6 minutes worth of clock. And that's to put up a field goal. And, Aaron, that's where I thought it was pretty clutch. And we talk about you want to sustain a drive, you want to burn clock, but I thought we got just enough out of our running game, especially in those crucial parts of that fourth quarter where we just needed a good 3-yard pickup, 2-yard pickup on first down, or bust for a 6 or 8 yard, scamper. And I thought we ran just well enough, especially late.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. That's really what set me at ease. I really thought going into that drive that it was going to be tough sledding running the football, and that's exactly what we needed to do. I think we got 4 on first down, and then Latavius hit an 11-yard run, and by then I knew, okay, we're going to salt this one away because there was still plenty of time on the clock. I think there was circa 4 minutes, something like that, still on the clock. And we needed, like you said, to be able to run that football. And I was impressed with the ability to do that. And I don't know if, it'd been the end of the game and the defensive line was a little worn down or for whatever reason that it might have been, we were able to pick up 2 or 3 first downs on the ground, which is really what salted that game away. Thought Philadelphia had a chance at the end. Of course, they went to the onside kick thing, and then their coach called that 2-point conversion, which I thought was a really smart move, but we can talk about that later. Put them in position to win the game at the end if they had gotten the ball back. But, yeah, so I did see a semblance of a running game. It'd be nice to see that in the first half, maybe throughout the game. But Cook's been out, and they really like throwing the football. I think they're really happy with Cousins. And so I think, for the most part, it was good to see a sustained drive with a lot of running plays.
Yeah, that is a good topic too, and I'm glad that you brought that up because that was a bit of a talker online, and I've even seen a couple articles written about it as far as the go for 2, when you do it, this, that, and the third. But like you said, it was nice, and that's where you wish we had Cook because that guy in the second half and especially the fourth quarter, he can just wear your ass down. And because he's big enough to, sustain a hit and keep going, but he also can, he's got enough jets to turn that corner. And once he gets rumbling, he's not the biggest dude, no doubt. He isn't a great, huge dude, big dude or nothing, but he's a little kind of a shit brick house. You know what I mean? Like he's just real put together. And just watching him at Florida State for years as well, knowing what he's capable of, especially in that second half, and just seeing him wear people down, whether it's a screen pass, whether it's between the tackles, or like I said, getting to that edge. But it was nice, and of course, we had the hands unit out there, and what's Thielen let it do? He hits his shoulder pads. Catch the ball outside of your shoulder pads, man. Though it did take a weird bounce, but that was pretty funny. It always cracks me up like, all right, we got the hands unit out there, dude. We're good to go. Everything's going to be fine, man. We got it. And all of a sudden, dude. For a second there, I thought he was going to get it. But we got the W. Let's talk about that 2-point conversion secondly. But first, did you sense, like, any kind of prevent defense in the second half? Or did you think, hey, they have some talent. They're going to move the ball. They were moving the ball well, even in the, at times later in the first half, and then they came out and moved the ball all the way near the goal line. So I figured they were going to move the ball. A lot of times it's not like it's a power 5 against the group of 5, and you're just going to keep destroying the team. I thought they put up some points. I thought it'd still be somewhat tight. Sitting at, 17-3, 20-3, yeah, I did want to, put the foot down, and it would have been nice to finish them off. And this happened in the opening. We got both our wins a little similarly. It looked like, okay, we're up, because the Niners game we were up 2, pretty healthy, and it looked like, all right, let's put it down. And we weren't able to put, the pedal to the metal and make it a non-game in the fourth quarter. Did you think prevent defense there? Because I heard a ton of people saying it. I didn't necessarily see it until a little later.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. It seemed to be the only time I could even see the echoes of a prevent defense was in the Phillies' last play where they came down and scored. And I think that was mostly about just keep them in front of you, space out your defense, keep everything in front of you and eat the clock and let them just, take the clock down with every play they make inbounds. So I thought, if that's what people are talking about, I just don't think that holds any water because that's exactly what you'd want to do is just keep them off the sidelines, keep them in the middle of the field, and let them, eat the clock away as they're slowly making their way downfield. I think we had a 9-point lead at the time, so we thought,
right.
if we can keep them there, let them do that. So as far as the other parts of the beginning of the second half, I thought we ran pretty good cover 2. We did go into cover 2, which is not something people aren't talking a lot about that, but we played a lot of cover 2, and I don't know if that's the adjustment that we've been waiting for on the defense to help them play better. But I think Zimmer maybe decided he wanted to play a little more cover 2 with different personnel. And I think that's kind of what we did in the game, which probably threw Philadelphia for a loop. I thought it was a good call, but I'm really iffy about, making your living on playing cover 2. It's kind of 10 years ago, and it's already been, sort of came in the league and out of the league. So I don't know. I saw a lot of the base defense was about the same. We played with the same guys. I saw a lot more of the safety, a lot of J-Ron Kearse and George Ialoka. I thought Hughes played well on the outside. Didn't really make any mistakes. He got burned on one, but again, it was one of those good throws that, and Waynes would have had a hard time with it too. So I thought he played really well. Our back end's still a little shaky, but it's gotten a little better, and maybe that's why we're going to a little bit more of a cover 2 just because of the youth we have back there. But, no, I didn't really see anything about a prevent defense away from that last drive, and I wouldn't really even call that a prevent defense. That's just kind of a loose interpretation of what you normally do,
that's just
allowing them to take time off the clock.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Keep
them
balanced,
off the sideline.
Exactly. Try not to give up one big 35-yard play or something like that. That's what I thought too. I did see a looseness near the end, but that's like you said, that's kind of what you see all the time. But overall, Hughes definitely played well. Saw a lot more Alexander, like you mentioned. I thought Weatherly is starting to really get around that edge and just play solid against the run as well. Hunter is Hunter. And in fact, I got a little stat on good old Danielle Hunter, like a lot of people are saying, because the way the spelling. 8th player in NFL history to record 30 sacks by the age of 24. And remember, his first year and a half, he wasn't starting. He actually was not the starter. So you got to put that in the equation too. Man, he's so freaking young, dude. So young. And I'm so glad that we got him extended. But overall, like you said, I think you called it right as far as you did see probably a little too much sometimes, still a little mental mistakes, but overall, sometimes it's just about making the tackle too. You're going to give up some plays. This is the big boy league. You're not playing a garbage team every week or anything like that. And even when you do, look at the Bills. So, like I said earlier, of course they've they've gone right back to where they were the last last week. This week I think they won. But anyway, good showing, solid showing by the defense, no doubt about it. It was just nice to get some pressure on the quarterback. Didn't get a bunch of sacks left and right, but it's not like he's a easy guy to sack. You want to kind of contain him, He definitely likes to get on the outside and do damage, whether it's with his feet or still keeping his eyes down the field. As far as offensively, you know, the line is coming around. Maybe there's not as many just free guys coming. I'll definitely say that. I didn't see as many free guys coming, even last week to an extent, because after all, we did put up, a fair amount of points in that game. Every once in a while, I take a look at O'Neal. It seemed like he was holding his own. Having the center back, Pat, that's helped too, kind of settle down the line. I think overall they're just settling in. Sometimes if you have an injury, when you're still not confident in your line, and then you have an injury, it does, there is some tweaks that you have to do. And now it's about just, keeping the line somewhat healthy. Maybe you have to have a Band-Aid this 1 week or that 1 week. But overall, if we can keep who we got playing now and let them have the rest of the season to be able to, mold together, sometimes that's just key, obviously we know injuries when it comes to the offensive line is always huge. So it does look like they're creating some space in a little bit of time. However, a lot of those throws that Cousins made, he was getting hit. He was still getting hit too much for my liking. A couple stats here just on Cousins and on Thielen. Cousins is the first player in NFL history to complete 30 passes or more for 4 consecutive games. Of course, Thielen reached a career milestone week 5. He became the first player in the Super Bowl era to have 100 or more receiving yards in each of its team's first 5 games. He had 7 catches for $116 and a touch, including that 68-yarder that really flipped the field, man. That was key. If you look at Thielen, don't get me wrong, and shouts out to Diggs, Stephon Diggs. We're not forgetting you. Also, shout out to Lissy, longtime friend. I was just kind of chit-chatting back with her. We were talking about Laquan Treadwell and our disappointments with him and whatnot. But we've been down in a couple of these games, obviously, and we've had to throw more than we want to throw. I like our attempts running-wise in this game, of course, though we had the lead. So, yeah, you better run the ball a little bit more. But even Thielen, through, Vikings history, most receiving yards through 5 games, 583. Randy Moss had 515 in 2003. Gene Washington, old school there, 493. Wow. In 1969. That's crazy. But I remember people, and this is why you can talk about preseason only to an extent. And I remember people going, why isn't he throwing the ball to Thielen? Oh, my God, he doesn't like Thielen. And, I just kept hearing all this stuff. Like, dude, he's going to get the ball to Thielen, dude. Just calm down, man. Cousins, he does survey the field. Maybe we're not used to that as a quarterback in the last, since Favre. Bradford, I got to say, he did to an extent, of course. He's pretty accurate, especially within 15 yards or whatever. But we know he can't stay on the field. But this little combination, our offense in general, and Diggs is usually just a big playmaker. He'll get the touchdowns. Thielen kind of gets us down there. He's kind of the possession. I think the stat from a couple weeks ago, he led the league since the beginning of 2017 in third down catches, much like Chris Carter did. I'm not trying to say he's Chris Carter, though. He's starting to make some catches on the sidelines like him, though. But Cousins and Thielen so far through 5 games, man, very impressive. And Cousins in general, there's a couple of times a game, and I know I'm going long here, sorry. There's a couple of times a game where I just go, wow, that was a good-ass throw. And it's something that we're not necessarily used to saying as a Viking, fan over the last chunk of years when we've been trying to find a quarterback. And also, like I mentioned just a moment ago, the dude's getting hit on a lot of these plays, but yet he stands there, he keeps his technique, and he just darts it in. What are your thoughts? I mean, with Thielen in general as well, but Cousins, since he's new to us, I knew he was good. I knew the last 4 years he was a top 5 quarterback stat-wise on a mediocre to poor team. But I didn't realize how good he was, and you don't realize how good someone is until you see him game by game. Your thoughts on that duo and Cousins in general thus far?
Yeah, where do I begin? So I think you're just seeing the tip of the iceberg right now, which is really exciting. There are 3 players in the prime of their careers, all about the same age. I think maybe Diggs is a little bit younger. You're seeing Thielen pop off right now is because teams are starting to pay a lot more attention to Diggs. And now that they've seen what happens when you pay a lot of attention to Diggs, then Thielen pops off. Now you're really going to start to see these 2 players start to play with that a lot. So let's say you bracket Diggs and Thielen has 7 catches for 152 yards. Well, so the next week these guys decide, well, let's bracket Thielen and see what happens. And then Diggs is going to have a huge game. So I think you're starting to see, what does the defense do now? Do they want to, how are they going to play it? They've got 2 basically of the same type of guy with just a little bit of different skill, but they're both expert route runners, both great hands, good speed on both of them. They're just like mirror images with little different skill sets. Now you add a third in there, somebody, a big receiver, hopefully like Treadwell or one of the other guys we've got. Now you're starting to have real problems defending this pass game. Cousins, I am a little worried about. I'm worried about his safety. I really wish that we had paid more attention to the offensive line the last 2 or 3 years. Now, we didn't know Cousins was coming, but had we known, we should have put more investment into the offensive line. Now, I'm not saying Cousins is going to get hurt. He's done very well avoiding pressure and throwing, but how many times are you going to get away with chucking it up and taking a hit and hoping that the ball gets there and hoping that you don't get hurt? Now, I got real worried with that penalty call they had on the roughing the passer. Everybody's talking about that, but I had no problem with that call because that's how you hurt a quarterback, is you go low on them. And they've been really good at making those calls. I don't understand. Yeah, the guy let up a little bit. But even if he hadn't let up a little bit, you fall the wrong way on somebody's knee, and it's trouble. So, yeah, paramount right now is protecting Cousins. Another point I wanted to make going forward is, when is the last time, if you think about it in our life, that we're going to leave a season with a good quarterback, possibly a great quarterback, and look forward to the all-off season and a second year and a third year and possibly a fourth year with the same guy who's in the prime of his career, ready to throw the ball and ready to win football games. That's the most exciting part to me about it. Yeah, we'll have a good year this year. I think we'll make the playoffs. But next year, when we can address the offensive line, when we can address these other parts on offense that need to be addressed, Cousins, to me, is playing absolutely great football. I just hope that he can continue to do that, and I hope that he gets protection to do that. Some of those balls he threw were just pinpoint. Other ones I think he's starting to trust. I think it took a little while to understand how much he could trust Diggs and Thielen. I think Case was pretty good at that last year. He quickly learned, just get it out there, and those guys will find a way to get it. I think Cousins is just coming around to that concept of just get it out there, and let these guys make a play on the ball. I think that's a huge comfort to any quarterback, and I think there's a lot of quarterbacks around the league who probably look around and go, Jesus, what could I do with those guys? Guys like Drew Brees or Aaron Rodgers, guys that you know their routes, you know their depths, they're in constant communication with you. So I think we're just seeing the beginning of how this will mature, barring injury of any kind. Plus, you add parts to the equation. You add offensive linemen next year. You add I'm a little worried. Like, how long do you think we're going to have John DeFilippo? Do you think that's a 1-year deal and he moves on? Do you think he'll stay for 3? I mean, what are your thoughts right now going into how long do you think, with a successful offense at the rate that this thing is going, how long can we say we're going to have the same offensive coordinator?
Yeah, that is something that is in the back of your head. But before we get there, I do want to just bask in the sun with you. Can I bask in the sun before we start to think though of Flip gone and all that? Because you're right. That is,
thinking, you know.
No, that's a great question. I just wanted to feel it for a little bit too, because you're right.
Yeah.
You're totally right. To go, first of all, you made a great point about the last, whether we had him a big time QB or not coming in here, you know, attention to the offensive line, just a tad more, because, you know, 2 years ago they did go out there and get some solid dudes, but that's the key word, solid, average, pretty good, had some good years, you know, that type of thing. Of course, they're not really at the positions that they had those good years in, which is kind of, you know, that's a sticking point for me. But you're right. You're right. It would have been nice, especially this last year, to build that lineup a little bit more, because he is getting hit, man. He's getting hit hard, and you can be tough, and you can do, you know, that's great. But sometimes, like you said, and I agree, we come from the same school as far as, you know, you should be able to tackle a guy, and you're going to whip the guy down a little more, because if he gets away, then you lose your job, and you lose the game, potentially. So I'm with you there, and I'm also with you on that it was low. I don't care if he held up or that whole area, you said it perfectly. You hit it right on the button. That's where you can actually get hurt. So I was actually, I mean, I'm going to be okay with any call game if it's in favor of the Vikings. But yeah, I'm honest enough to be like, yeah, we got lucky there, but I'll fucking take it. But that one, I agree. I don't think that was luck. I think that's a good rule to have in there. And you're right. In the way this all came together, he's even mentioned it at his opening, you know, his presser, you know, his first to announce that we signed him. Cousins, I'm speaking of course. And he said, you know, that the plan is long term here. And the fact that they gave me this 3 years, if they'll have me back, if I could sign an extension, I'd do it. You know, that type of thing. He was really going over the top at that. Now, we've heard this before from other, you know, coaches, especially coaches in college. You know, I'm not leaving. I don't care what the press says. And then, like, it's like midnight and you just hightail it out of town and never to be seen again. We've seen plenty of coaches do that. But, man, that's why I'm so glad that we did get Cousins, because it's long-term. It's not next year. It's not the year after. He's right. He's just beginning his prime. And if we can keep improving, you know, our offensive line, the weaponry's here. The defense is going to be even more stout than it's, you know, shown to be. And the play action, we haven't even – not to say we haven't used play action, because, you know, you got to run, you got to set it up and whatnot, and you got to be in the game and whatnot. You can't always be – got to at least be near even or in the lead to do a lot of play action effectively anyway. But once we get that going, man, and like you said, the skill plays around. We know the defensive guys that we already got signed. The core, besides Barr, the core is here. So, yeah, man, it is really exciting to me. Now, as far as the offensive coordinator, how many years was he a coordinator? Because of late, in a lot of his stops, he was a quarterback coach / like assistant coach, where he was like the passing game. I'll run the passing game coordinator and stuff like that. Because now, just like what's his toes? Rest in peace. Tony. Why am I thinking of the? Yeah, he was. You know, he was the run game coordinator / offensive, you know, coach type thing. So. That hurt losing him just off that. I'm not trying to blame that on, you know, why we're not running the ball. But how many places was he an actually coordinator for a whole season instead of just filling in? Because I think the reason why I ask is because I think that goes a long way. I just can't remember offhand. I believe that he was a coordinator someplace else before he was what he was doing in Philly. I believe so. But if not, I think – go ahead.
I think that I know he was in Cleveland before he was in Philly now. I'm not sure if he was the OC there or if he was a quarterback coach. I think you might be right. This might be his first offensive coordinator job. But I remember we got him last year. He was one of the rising coaching stars in the NFL, and everybody thought I think he did interview for a head coaching job before he took this one. I don't think he obviously wasn't hired, but he's definitely got plans to do that. And I'm gonna let you bask in the sun as long as you want. I'm basking in it as well, but and that's looking forward because honestly, Chris, I really feel like it's not really going to matter. You got a healthy Cousins, you improve your line, you keep your skill position players. You could bring anybody in with a system, and these guys could run.
We got a playbook too. We can playbook. So you know what I mean? We'll copy that.
Yeah.
We better get that thing, some backup file for that, just in case he tries to leave. But it was 2015 where he was at the Browns, like you said, as a Cleveland Brown offensive coordinator. Other than that, in the pros, he hadn't been one. So he has 1 year of being a offensive coordinator in actual, because he was with the he was offensive quality control there for the Giants in 2005, 2006. I remember he did a good job controlling the quality that year. I remember a lot of quality coming out of that there. The quality control. I love that. It's quality year because, we had a guy running the offensive quality control. He's a coach there, and he's a pretty good guy at the same time. Yeah, so 1 year. So my guess is he wants to probably do it for 2 years. That's generally how, just to kind of get your feet all the way under and really prove yourself. But there could be something that comes knocking that. My guess is it'll just be opportunity. What's the best fit? And he's looking at it like, you know what? I could wait another year and there might be a different fit, So I think it'll come down to fit. That does help us, though. It definitely does help us that he didn't, he hasn't been an ongoing coordinator, but he has been a hot commodity, no doubt about it. But I worry about Cousins, too, right now, because, he's a professional athlete, but, chucking it 55, 50 times, 48 times, like, we don't see this here in Viking land up here in Loserville. We just don't see it. It just blows my mind away. Back-to-back weeks, 55 and 50. Got it down to 37 last week. He's already been over 400 twice. I mean, Jesus Christ, this guy's putting up numbers. And, of course, just like Thielen said when he's been asked about it recently is, obviously – The game plan is one thing, but when you have to tweak it, whether you're not creating holes or you're down on the scorecard, that's a boxing reference, scoreboard, then obviously, you're gonna throw the ball a little bit more. But one last thing about this Philly stuff and just our squad right now, Bailey, right? Bailey, good old Dan Bailey. Is he still the second most accurate kicker? Because who's closest to him? Because his percentage since he got here had to have gone down so far. But, 2 out of 4, I'm not going to say ain't bad because 50% is bad, especially when one was from 28 yards or 26 yards or whatever the hell it was. But we did say earlier, right? Earlier this season, just make the ones that count, for Christ's sakes. Please make the ones that actually, they all count, clearly. We wouldn't have probably been in this situation had we have, gotten some of those early ones. But what was going through your head when we're lining up from 52 yards out late in the game to try to go up? And then we'll get to that 2-point conversion stuff, too. What was going through your head? Did you feel confident? Zimmer says he was confident, but he's only got one eye.
It's tough to say. I made myself watch it. Like, I didn't want to watch it, but I made myself. I said, okay, I'm going to sit and I'm going to watch this. I had a good feeling he was going to make it. But, that creeping thought in the back of your mind where you're just like, yeah, but, I don't know about that. So I made myself watch it, and it was, 53 yards? And I thought to myself, yeah, some of these kickers, they miss at 22 and they just nail 53-yarders. So this whole Bailey thing, I think as a collection of Viking fans, you and I included, we got to stop thinking about kickers. We just got to stop doing it. I think there's like a collective hive mind that's making a problem where there might not have been a problem. We just got to stop thinking about it and just kind of always assume that ball's going through the uprights. Yeah, it might hurt a couple times, but this gnashing of teeth every time you hit the 30-yard line and just praying that you score a touchdown so you don't have to bring the kicker out it's just probably not a good collective mindset to have when you're sending that out to millions of people. Well, probably about 1 million people. I don't know how many Viking fans there are in the world, but I'm going to say there's over 1 million people, putting this anxiety up into the sky. We've got to change our mindset on it. I think Bailey's the guy to do it. You know what? The kicker's a kicker, and I've never really thought about, how much that means, but we're in a unique spot being Vikings fans as we've seen a lot of things go down with kicker, and I'm sure there's other teams too that have had their woes, but ours always seem to be at the wrong time, so like I said, Bailey's a good thing. I think he can kick the ball well. I think he's a good kicker. I got faith in him now going forward. I think we should all have some faith in him, and let's see if that collective faith can kind of make these kicks become a non-issue.
Well, like we were saying, we were kind of going back and forth talking about different topics that we're going to talk about, on the show. And, is it a real, jinx? Is it really a curse? And where does it start? Where is its inception? And I brought out, there's a couple of traits that they generally have. They got, huge legs. They can kick the shit so far. It's just a matter of, just like Carlson. Carlson can kick the shit out of the ball. In fact, when he hit that 57-yarder, that was enough to go, yep, sounds good. But you're right. Were you the one who? Did you send me that? Maybe it was my brother. I can't remember. But somebody sent me. Was it you that sent me that thing of Zimmer talking, and it sounded like he actually didn't want to. That maybe it was the GM that did that move at that moment, and he wasn't necessarily ready to make it a one-man race. Did you send me that, or was it my brother? I can't remember.
No, I didn't send you that. It was probably your brother. But, yeah, see, that's the thing. I put a lot of thought into this curse, non-curse, jinx, non-jinx thing. And it would all, if we caught a kicker that was good and we just said screw it, and, or something, or maybe we got a guy, where does it start? If there is a curse, well, where did it start? What was its inception? So, I thought back, did we do a kicker wrong in the Denny days, or did we, and I just can't think of anything. I mean, maybe some Viking fans that go back a little bit farther than I do have a better idea of how that could possibly, but I just couldn't think of any singular moment or event that would have, generally, because the Red Sox had the whole, thing. So the curses and things like that, so I just think
like
mostly,
the Timberwolves, everybody says the Timberwolves get screwed from the league because of the Joe Smith deal, and that's where our curse started and stuff like that. You met that name that you brought up though, like the Gary
Juan
Anderson
Rivette.
having the great dude Juan Rivette, dude. That when you texted me that, I'm like, oh my god, I totally remember that guy. Oh my god.
But I don't remember. Man. I don't remember how it ended.
Yeah, I don't remember
did Denny Did Denny cut him or something? I don't know. Maybe Santeria or something. Maybe put a hex on the kickers. But it seemed like that second miss that Bailey had, the look on his face was like, this is unreal. Like, this is incredible. I don't understand what's going on here. It made me think, well, geez, maybe there's something to that whole garbage. But no, I don't think it's that. I just think, maybe if we stop, obsessing over it so much as fans, and not saying that we're obsessing about it, because it's kind of just been sort of this year after the Carlson thing that people have been like, wow, there's a serious problem here.
In the playoff,
But
Blair
in
Walsh,
general,
the Blair Walsh thing is still it's fresh because it was such a close right there in the playoffs. You know, Blair Walsh had such a great season too. That's the thing. We draft these guys, and there's the key word: we draft these guys, right? We've drafted plenty of them over the years, and which that's always a shaky thing if you're going fourth rounder for this guy. Or fifth round, whatever. But Blair Walsh came on like a freight train. This guy could boot it. He was just like long, no problem. Then all of a sudden, 35 and in, 30 and in, it's like, I can't do it, coach. Can we get a second kicker? Remember there was times where the Vikings and other teams would have a kickoff kicker and a field goal kick. It's like, what are we doing? Why do we need 7 kickers on our squad? You're a kicker. Kick the fucking thing through it. But Blair, I wish we had Bill Walsh, but we kind of did with Denny. But Blair Walsh, I think that's what has got us. It hurt us in the playoffs. And then, obviously so far this season, we're not on our third kicker, but, in a less than 2 years, we're on our third kicker. That's for sure.
Yeah, that was a tough one because the Blair Walsh miss to me is where Zimmer probably was just like, you know what, I can't deal with this anymore. We're 50 below. You just beat Russell Wilson in the prime of Russell Wilson and that Seattle team at its apex. Just got him outside at your place in the playoffs. You basically beat him. You had him beat, and all you had to do was kick a 22-yarder or something like that from the right hash, and it goes. I don't remember if that was right or left. You just shanked it. And I thought that's when it just was like, okay, this is ridiculous. Like, he couldn't even fathom that happening because you're right. Walsh had a great year that year. He kicked very well. He was just kind of coming off a spotty year. Seems like he got it all back together at the time, and then that happened. So, yeah, I mean, there's that. There's the Gary Anderson. There's I'm sure there's some back in the old days in the 70s and blah, blah, blah. I wasn't, around for that. But, it's just something that seems to be a plague. And we had a quarterback problem for a long time. We couldn't get one. We could, we just retread after retread after rookie after retread after rookie. And that wasn't working out. And that's probably, 25 years, something like that? I mean, that was a long span before we got Cousins. So
credit to Denny. I mean, Denny did keep a productive offense through all those, every other year. But, man, it was like every other year, Moon, Johnson, Cunningham, like so many, and Jeff George. And Randy must have got him on the squad because Jeff will just throw it deep every fucking time. He doesn't care if there's 3 guys. He's like, yeah, that's my type of guy. I like this guy. He just throws it deep. I need the ball every other play. The Randy ratio. Remember that one? But, yeah, dude, it was – but Denny, Denny offensive play calling and drafting, especially drafting. Burke in the 4th or 5th round, like this guy knew offense up and down. He wasn't just a drummer, Denny. He knew offense, man. He knew offense. You can say a whole lot about him. Well, not really. We had some great years with him, man.
9 straight playoffs appearances.
Yeah. And 2 teams that looked the part of, that were going to win the championship. That's what it felt like anyway. But hey, that's those years are gone, unfortunately, but fortunately. And we're here. We're 2-1, and that transitions us to a game coming up this weekend. Good old Cardinals. So they're actually coming off a nice little W over the Niners, 28-18. Josh Rosen, that's who's going to be starting. They actually got their first win. I didn't realize that. Oh wow, they got Christian Kirk too. Okay, so that's who's going to start it. It must be because Bradford. I knew he got hurt, but he didn't even play. And the young dude from UCLA, for those who don't know what UCLA is. 10 of 25, $170. We're going to be all up in his you-know-what. That's for sure. we got to get to this young buck. What's their running back? Is it Johnson? David Johnson. That guy is a handful, both in the passing game and in the running game. That Johnson's a good player. It's home. My guess is they're not going to overlook this team since their last home game didn't go as well as they wanted to. The first two games, they looked like garbage. However, the Cardinals, in a loss, lost 16-14 to the Bears. And then what used to be a solid club, now not quite the club they used to be, the Seattle Seahawks, they lost to them, but it was 20-17. Very close. So they've been playing people close. They finally got off the schneid last week. To be honest with you, this is one of those games. Don't you like that statement? To be honest with you, because before I was just lying every other time. But to be honest with you, I'd like to see a fourth quarter put the pedal to the metal. Send the wolves, send the dogs on the edges to, let's send the whole team after the quarterback in the fourth quarter on 3rd and long. I really want to see that. I'll take a W, but I'd like to see us put it all together as a team for 4 quarters or damn close. How do you feel coming in this one where, even Vegas is like, well, we'll go 10.5. We're not going to go too silly because of that Bill shit, but I just feel like we're going to win this game, and I feel like it won't be a competitive fourth quarter.
Yeah, I'd say take the under. This game scares me a little bit for a few reasons. One, Arizona coming in here. Of the 5 rookie quarterbacks that came out last year, I liked Rosen the best. Seemed to have the tools. He was with Rodgers a little bit in the off season. I'm not saying he's Rodgers. I'm not saying anything like that. I'm just saying this kid's a good quarterback, and he's going to figure it out, and the light's going to come on, and I certainly hope it's not Sunday. Yeah, and then you got the running game with David Johnson, who's a heck of a running back, and we've had a little bit of a hard time stopping the run. So that's worrisome a little bit. Third thing that worries me is another offensive thing, and that's Larry Fitzgerald coming home. He always plays well here, always. So I don't know if he's hurt. I haven't checked the injury report or anything like that. I know he's old, but he always plays well coming home. So offensively, I think they could probably keep up with us. I hope not. I think defensively, it could turn out to be a shootout. Something in the 28-34, something like that, or not. It all depends on kind of how Rosen plays. Now, we're not the easiest defense to prepare for, especially in the last 2 weeks. It's going to be hard for them to tell what they're going to get. Are they going to get the old school Viking defense? Are they going to get the new and improved Viking defense? Are they going to get the confused Viking defense? Are they going to get the solid Viking defense? They don't know, and we don't know. So I'm a little bit not so confident about this game. I think we are going to win this game. I think it's going to be closer than 7 points. And I think, like you said, the line was 10. So I think you take the under on this and the Viking win. It just seems to be one of those games that, if the light goes on, it's going to be close because they've got guys on the outside, kind of guys that we don't like so much, fast, speedy guys. So I don't know. I like the Vikings. I think we're going to win. The offense just needs to be efficient. They need to be effective. They need to run the ball. They need to throw the ball well. These are all obvious statements, but, it's about execution. Offensive line needs to be consistent. They need to improve. Defensive line's got to come together, play a little bit better up front. I didn't think we got the push we wanted from the inside. Linval had a good game. Sheldon had a good game, but it just wasn't the kind of push that you need, especially when they're gashing us with the run a little bit there. But a young quarterback, he's talented, and let's just hope that this is not the week where the light comes on. But I'm thinking we'll win this game 24-17, something like that. I think it'll be a good game. I just don't see it being a blowout in any way.
Yeah, it is tough to blow out a team in the NFL. And I don't necessarily mean a blowout. It could be final score 30-17, and maybe they just got a bunch of field goals or something, and they get a late touchdown and make it 30-20 or something like that. But I just feel like it'll be a fourth quarter where maybe we'll even score. We'll be on a drive end of the third, kind of put it out of reach. In the fourth quarter, that's what I'm thinking. And Larry Fitzgerald is questionable. So is Delvin Cook, and so is Marcus Sherrills on our side anyway. Just looking at their stats through 5 games, both obviously giving up a grip of passing yards. They give up a lot more rushing yards than us. Neither team. In fact, we finally found, Aaron, the team that can't run the ball better than us. They're averaging 64.6, and we're averaging 65.8. And you know what? That was turned around last week. It was I think it was all – actually, you know what? He got 80 yards, though, too, last week, I think. So we finally found a team that doesn't run it like us. However, when you're talking passing yards, they're only averaging $157. We're up there in the 338 range almost, which is still another thing that you look at, and it's like you almost got – let me refresh that. I don't think that's correct. Yep, it is. It's correct. We got a quarterback averaging over 300 yards per game. According to ESPN's Football Index Power Index, which is always right, not really, they give us 84.4% chance. Wow. That's I thought that would be a little bit closer in general, too. Anything else you want to touch upon, sir? And actually, you know what? I forgot to do this at the beginning of the show, so let me do this real quick. If this is your first time listening to the Purple People Eaters podcast, we stream it live right here on blogtalkradio.com/Rope-A-Dope Radio. It's under the Rope-A-Dope Radio podcast. You can subscribe and listen at iTunes, a.k.a. Apple Podcasts, Player FM, Spreaker, Stitcher, TuneIn. We get a lot listens through TuneIn as well. We're also part of the Grueling Truth Sports Podcast Network. That can be streamed on iHeartRadio as well as Spotify. Head on over to thegruelingtruth.net. That's thegruelingtruth.net. They got a great sponsor over there, mybookie.ag. Head on over to thegruelingtruth.net. Listen to a podcast. It's football, it's basketball, it's baseball, it's boxing, it's everything in between. Heck, they even talk CFL. And big shot, speaking of the CFL, I was almost about to make a joke about it, but I'm going to hold off because I don't want to offend our Canadian listeners. Big shouts out to Canada. Once again, big shouts out to everybody that listens to the show. But head on over to thegruelingtruth.net. You can, listen to a podcast. You can read an article. And while you're at it, place a bet. It'll link you right to mybookie.ag. Once again, shout out to my long-lost friend, Lissy. I was just talking to her today. Shouts out to you. It's been a long time. We got to hang out at some point. But anyway, is there anything else you'd like to add before we head on out of here? By the way, God, I always do this. I'm such a talker. Kendall Wright. There's been a Kendall Wright sighting, and he is signed with the Arizona Cardinals. If that mother effer scores a touchdown, oh my! Can we do a trade? Like after the game, if we win, can we trade him and Quan and just be like, hey, are we good? You good? We're good? Okay, let's go. But Kendall Wright has been signed by the enemy this Sunday. Anything that you'd like to add, sir, before we head on out of here?
No, I didn't know about the Kendall Wright signing. That's interesting. I wonder if that's just to get as much info out of him as you can get. That's interesting. I didn't know they had signed him. That I'm not too worried. I like Quan a little better than Kendall Wright. Quan's getting it together. I got a lot of hopes for him, so I hope he continues to improve, catching the ball. And another thing I wanted to add earlier was the thing that scared me a lot about back in the game with Philadelphia. I don't know if you got to see much of it, but our boy Sendejo's not wrapping up. It's just not wrapping up and missed a lot of tackles. It was not good, and it's one of those things that gets brushed over in a win. But yeah, that was tough. So hopefully he gets it together, starts playing a little better, and hopefully they win against Arizona and go on to the Jets and hopefully get a win there too, get our record up where it needs to be. But other than that, no, I don't have a lot to add. It's a good show today.
Well, I mean, why wrap them up when you could just lay a power hit on them? I mean, come on. That's my job as a safety, right? Just to go balls, especially nowadays. It's like, really, dude? Like, nowadays, you don't even want to hit someone hard. You just want to wrap it up like we were talking about with Kendricks. Hey, real quick, that's what I was going to ask you. How do you feel Kendricks is playing these last couple of games? His name has called that much. You know, he's a middle linebacker. I've heard, especially, well, it's Twitter. So sports and Twitter and politics, it tends to be negative. Go figure. But I've heard a lot of people down on Kendricks. Real quick before we go, has something stood out to you at all that you're like, yeah, you know, I've noticed Kendricks just hasn't been there, you know, all the way, or he's not wrapping up, or, you know, is there something that stands out? Because I haven't really seen that. Now, maybe we didn't call his name much the last 2 weeks, but I didn't see – someone said I've been really disappointed with Kendricks, and it's actually someone that does a local podcast too.
No, Kendricks is my barometer on the defense. Like, that guy is solid. If you know football vaguely well, and I like to think that I know football vaguely well, he's making the tackles. He's in his right place. He's always where he needs to be. I judge by what I mean by barometer is how far am I seeing him go to make a tackle? Is he going sideline to sideline because he shouldn't have to on most plays? How is he in coverage? Where are they where they're making their money? The offense, that is. Are they making it in the middle of the field? Are they getting behind the linebackers and in between the safeties? That's where I kind of judge where the middle is there with Barr and Kendricks. And I thought they both played really well against Philadelphia, and those are kind of the leaders of the defense. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know where these people are saying that. It's not something that I'm seeing, at least. Maybe I'm missing something, but he's played just as well as he's always played. I think my thought earlier in the season was that was getting mostly confused in the new scheme, or with the new additions to the scheme that Zimmer had, because I think just asked a little bit too much of him and Barr, and I think we saw that in the Ram game where it just kind of asked a little bit too much of those two guys to cover receivers. Maybe, you know, got a little heady, as Zimmer that is, maybe got a little heady in thinking what their capabilities were. And he put, like I said, a Barr on a Brandon Cooks or a Kendricks on a DeAndre Hopkins or something. It's a huge mismatch in size and speed. So, no, I think Kendricks is playing pretty well. I'll keep an eye on him this game, see what I think, because I really haven't been paying too much of him. I'm worried more about Mackenzie Alexander, seeing him make just the worst mistakes in nickel. They showed on a replay during the Philly game where a guy just ran a seam route, and there was Mackenzie Alexander and the free safety, that would be Sendejo. And you could tell that Alexander was meant to stay home on this play. It was a seam route on their side of the field. And he took off, which essentially doubled the seam runner with him and Sendejo, leaving his whole area uncovered. And I just thought that made it very clear to me that he just doesn't know what his responsibilities are in the defense. So I don't think you're going to see a heck of a lot of Mackenzie Alexander, except for maybe spot duty going forward. Now, I could be wrong, but I just couldn't see him using it. If he's that confused and that out of place in 3 years, I just don't see it being something you want to continue to go forward with. I look forward to him being on special teams and till the end of the year, a good depth player, maybe move him to the outside. I don't know, do something, but he's not good in the nickel spot. But, yeah, that's about all I got to add about that. I think Kendricks is playing well. I think the defense is improving. So I think we're in a good spot as far as that's concerned.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely didn't see it. And, Sendejo, like you said, he doesn't like to wrap it up. I mean, how many kids does the guy have, for Christ's sakes? The guy doesn't wrap it up. I hope he doesn't take that off the field, for Christ's sakes. Anyway, let's get out of here before we lose all our sponsors, for Christ's sakes here. I'm starting to let my grandpa here. Yeah, crepe sakes. Oh, gosh darn crepe sakes, kid. He doesn't know how to wrap it up, this kid. No fundamentals, these kids these days. R.I.P., by the way, to my grandpa. Grandpa Markson, man. Anyway, let's get out of here. Enjoy the game. Let's get another Vikings victory. Really appreciate everybody that listens to the Purple People Eater pod. We'll be back here on a weekly basis all the way. Well, I'm not going to say it. I don't want to jinx anything. I don't want to bring up. I don't want anything. I just want to win the next game. We'll get out of here. We'll be back next week. Peace.
Once you become the world champion, I believe that you feel you have the upper hand. So now, as you fight, let's say you fight 4 or 5 years of straight survival, the bullshit, the holdback, and when you become the world champion, you're like, you know what, I made it. I'm going to show you it's business. So I'm going to get every dollar worth of what I deserve. Why? Because I'm the world champion.